Excellent. All right, all right. Before I begin, can someone make sure that they can hear me? Hello, hello. Excellent. Okay, then. I'd like to call to order SFSS Council meeting Wednesday, September 27, 2023 at 4:37 p.m. Territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and were currently situated on occupied territories. We can now go for the roll call. Do we have archaeology?
Yes.
Hello. Next would be Bachelor of Environment.
Hi guys, my name's Tiana, she, her pronouns, all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Behavioral Neuroscience. Inside the chat. Thank you very much. Biology.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs have been met.
Very nice. Thank you. And then it's BPK counselor.
Hello, everyone. Name is Jovan, he, him, and all of my access needs are met.
Thank you very much. And then it's chemistry. Chemistry Student Society. Going once, going twice. Not quite here.
I think they're trying to join in. I just saw their text on Discord.
Oh, really? I see. I see. All right then. Well, when they do join in and put an intro in the chat, yeah, we can mark them down. But in the meantime, next up is cognitive science. Yes, they are here. Thank you. How about computing science?
My name is Mabel, pronouns are she, her, all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Nice, thank you. How about criminology?
My name is Henry, my pronouns are he, him, all my access needs are met.
Welcome, Henry. Data science? Data science, are they here? Not quite. Is earth science here? Yes, he is. Thank you very much. Economics? Also here. Excellent. Engineering? They are here. Very, very nice. Oh, environmental science.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grayson Bark. He, him pronouns. All my access needs are met. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have films student union? We do not have film student union. Do we have geography student union? Yes, we do. Thank you very much. How about health science?
Hi everyone, I'm Ishika. My pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you very much. Interactive arts and technology. IAT, it's not quite here, but International Studies Student Association. We do not have international studies. Do we have mechatronics?
Hi everyone, my name is Aiden. All my needs have been met.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, SSU is here. That is very, very good. Where was I? Oh, right. Is MBB counselor here?
Hi, my name is Sam. My pronouns are he, him. All my access needs are met.
Thank you very much. Do we have psychology? We do not. Do we have science undergraduate society? Yes, we do. Thank you very much. Do we have sociology?
Hello, my name is Andres. Pronouns are he, him. All access needs are met.
Thank you very much. How about software systems? Yes, we do. I see it inside the chat. Thank you very much. Statistics and actuarial science.
Hello. I'm Van, Access Needs Summit. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you. Very nice. Sustainable engineer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew. My pronouns are he and him, and all of my access needs are met.
Very nice. Constituency group time. Do we have disability and neurodiversity? In this case, we seem not to. How about out on campus collective? More silence. Do we have students of Caribbean and African ancestry?
Hi, my name is Yai. Access needs are met. Pronouns she, her.
Thank you,
Thank you.
very much. Residence Hall Association?
Hey everyone, EM is, my name is Emmanuel, all my access needs are met.
Nice. Teach Staff Support Union? TSSU? Yes, they are here. I see it in the chat. Thank you very much. SFP, IRG? Not quite. Okay, now for the executives. I am here. Pronouns he, him, his. Access needs are just fine. Do we have acting VP internal?
Hi, Ashley. They, she, V pronouns. All my access needs are met for today.
Nice. VP Finance? Excellent. VP University?
Hello, everyone. I'm here. Access needs met.
Oh, SFP, IRG, I see you inside the chat. Thank you very much. Noted down. Is VP External here?
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy, pronouns she, her, access needs are met.
Very nice. Next up, VP Equity. Inside the chat, thank you. Do we have VP Events?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ida. Pronouns are he, his. All my access needs are met.
Excellent. How about the Facilities Manager?
John will join us in about 30 minutes.
Awesome. Temporary Operations Organizer?
Cindy here, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Nice. Policy, Research, Community Affairs? Not quite. Do we have Admin Assistant? Very, very good. We have a list of regrets. The one that you see on the screen here is incomplete. All right. Officially be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Would include all these committee minutes down here. And oh, yes, there's also various ratification of regrets that we must go through as well. For this one, as always, I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent. Oh, but before I do that, I do not want to skip over the list inside the chat. Sam, you got a list?
Yes, the list of additional regrets for the council meeting.
Yes.
I apologize. I had a call that came up. So additional regrets are Emilio, Nava, Chris,
Oh, we are reading out the list of regrets.
Yep.
All right then.
Political science, and SAS.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Be it resolved to also ratify the regrets of the names mentioned. Where was I? Oh, yes, I am seeking unanimous consent. I am also seeing no dissent. This carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Now it is time for the adoption of the agenda. I move. Anyone care to second?
Events.
Events. Seconds. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. I see a list you got there.
I have 3 amendments I would like to
Very
make.
nice.
Just give me a second to paste on.
I'm assuming you'll be moving them all as a batch, is that right?
Yes.
Very good. While you are pasting them inside of the chat, I will go to Ashley's list.
Yeah, I also have like a bucket of amendments, so we should probably wait until IO is done. So we don't get lost.
Oh, all right then. Thomas, do you also have amendments?
Yes, I just have one amendment, and it's for a discussion item. So I'll put it after like I and Ashley are done theirs.
I see. Priyanka, you got a list? Equity? I see. Okay then.
Okay, so these 3 motions will be going under ASAC restructuring.
Mhm. Actually, we have motions regarding the AGM today. Is that right?
Yes, those will be my amendments, which I was gonna do after IO was done. But for transparency, I will let you guys know I'll be putting all of my amendments first, as they are time sensitive.
Yes, I was about to say we should also amend the rules to have those motions come first before these ones. However,
Also,
before
IO
that
needs to
happens,
provide a title for his motions.
yeah, while that happens, I
Yeah.
put down 2 titles for it. We'll add them on, and then we will get to Ashley's amendments.
I put the title like at the beginning.
Okay then, ESAC restructuring. I move. Anyone care to second?
MBB.
University.
I heard MBB seconds, seeking unanimous consent. There is no dissent. Amendment has been adopted. Thank you. Ashley, go time.
Hi, yes. So I'm gonna be putting on a bunch of stuff. First and foremost, I'm gonna be amending on. Yeah, so I'm gonna be putting on first off a presentation. Hold on, I'm just gonna pull up my email. Titled financial statement review. So that's a presentation I'm going to be amending and put that like first right away. Then immediately after that, I'm going to put a new business item titled financial statement proposal approval. And then immediately after that will be another new business item titled carrying forward proposed agenda items from 2022 to 2023 agenda. Following that will be an in-camera discussion item titled sublease, of which will go out to another new business item titled renegotiation of lease terms with SFU for student union building. Following that motion will be another in-camera titled TSSU updates. All of these have been emailed to council, but I will be dragging and pasting the motions into the chat shortly.
I see. All right then. But while you are pasting them inside the chat, I am assuming you move, in which case I would like to second. That's the case, I would like to seek unanimous consent to adopt the various amendments onto the agenda. I am receiving no dissent. Thank you, Ashley, for posting. These amendments are also adopted. I remember. That happens. Okay, yes, Thomas, we can get to your list.
I'd just like to amend. I was gonna put it under discussion items, but on second thought, it's probably better in camera, right, Liam?
Oh, I see. All right, if you're going to put as a
Yeah. So I'll put
in-camera
for
item, then
wait,
just put down
yeah.
like a, I guess, a title.
What would it be? 8.3 in camera?
Well, I will take a
How many
look.
actually how many items did you have for in camera?
On the agenda, the in-camera section is blank.
I can answer that question. I have 2 in cameras items,
Yeah.
but I do recommend we keep them separate as I want to do the sublease motion directly after the sublease discussion item, and then I want to go back in camera for TSSU just briefly. There isn't much; it shouldn't take too long. So if Thomas has an in camera, I recommend attaching it with TSSU.
Okay, but I'm just gonna put 8.3 because you already have 2. So it'll be like 8.1, 8.2. Does that make sense? Or should we put this one as 8.2 and yours is 8.3?
Yes, sure. You can put that as 8.3.
Okay.
Just to be clear, it's going to be 8.3 inside the in-camera section.
I'm just gonna put 8.3 should be fine. It's not gonna be too long. I'll send out the documents in email to everyone right now.
Okay.
But it's just going to council because I thought it would be best to take it to council, but technically speaking, I think we could have done it in exec anyway. But I was gonna send it out to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I am assuming you move it. I would like to second that, seeking unanimous consent. And there's no dissent. This has also been added on. Thank you. Ashley, you got a list?
Yeah, I just realized that I also should probably amend on the various attachments associated with my amendments. So that would include the draft financial report, the draft AGM motion, an AGM FAQ, as well as 2 other financial documents that were all emailed to council ahead of time. So those should also be included on the council agenda. So I'm moving to amend those attachments onto the agenda.
Yeah, all right. You could paste them into the chat as well, if you would like.
I think they're too large. I'm just going to keep it over email for now.
Oh, they're too large. All right, then. Email will have to work just fine. This is a separate movement, I'm assuming?
Yes, this is separate just because I forgot previously, so I'm moving.
Okay, then. I'm seconding. I'm also seeking unanimous consent. And I'm also getting no dissent. This has also been added on. Excellent. Did I miss anybody? Or is this the complete state of our agenda today? Oh, Priyanka? I see. BIPOC at-large member election. All right. If you move, I will second. I'm also seeking unanimous consent for this one. It will be the very last item on. And I'm getting no dissent here. This is also added on. Thank you. If we have time to get to it, that's going to be a bit optimistic. Do we have anyone else? I am not seeing a response from anyone else. And if that's going to be the case, then be it resolved to adopt the agenda as officially amended. Seeking unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. This carries unanimously. All right, then. The presentation for the audit would be the very first thing on today's list. I will stop sharing. And we will get to the presentation right away. I'm going to mute myself whenever you are ready.
All right, I'll share the screen as well.
Well, good evening, everyone. Nice to hear and see everyone, so to speak. course, I'm here with Pamela Felix, the senior manager on the audit, and I'm the partner of the independent auditors, Gary Wozni, Tompkins Wozni. So just to let everyone know, we have done a first review more detail with the executive late last week, as well as your finance people. So tonight will be a bit more of an overview, but please remember, these are your statements, i.e. SFSS's, and what is ours is the independent auditor's report. There's quite a bit here, so we're going to do our best to be efficient. But if you do have some questions, we'll invite questions at the end, certainly. It's preferable if you can speak up about it, and then we'll just go from there. So we're going to start on the statement of financial position, also known as a balance sheet. And this sets out the society's assets, liabilities, and fund balances, or net assets equity at the end of your fiscal year, April 30, 23. Generally speaking, you can see there the society follows what we call fund accounting. And that's so that various fees are raised from students so they can see clearly where the revenues go and the related expenses. The funds are all defined in note 2. We'll kind of overview a couple of them now. The general fund is the day-to-day activities and operations. Capital asset fund represents your leasehold interest in your new building, your furniture and equipment, etc., owned by the SFSS. Build SFU was used to, of course, raise funds to build or construct the student union building. And it continues on because part of your agreement with the university is that fees will be collected to handle the financing on the bank loan that was used to help you build the complex. Space expansion is pretty obvious, the undergraduate health plan fund. And then I think most of the other funds, you can see clearly what they are. Now, we do want to add that the DNA and the SOCA funds are new this year. I believe the fees started in September of 22.
That's correct.
And just so you know, they're there and new this year. And you can see there's a lot of funds. So try not to get too many more because it'll be tough to get them all on one page in the future. But anyways, so we're mostly going to work off the total columns to give you an overview of what's going on. So we're going to work through that and then move around a little bit. And so we'll start off now. So starting in the total columns, you can see at the end of the year, the cash was approximately $10 million. Now, investments in marketable securities, as you know, you have a professional investment manager through Van City. And this amount is carried at market value because the instruments or investments are carried in an open market. So at the end of the year, it's the market value is 4.955 million. And we're just going to round to the nearest thousands because you can see the amounts are quite large. A little bit of accounts receivable, prepaid amounts, and we'll see when we get to the notes, those will break those down a bit better, the 89,000 and the 1.841 million. Then carrying on with the totals, you can see the cash held in trust, $5.8 million. That's what's held with the university under Build SFU. And again, as we mentioned earlier, the fees go directly into that trust account. The principal and interest is paid on the loan and that type of thing. You also have a repair and replacement reserve fund as part of your agreement with SFU. I believe roughly 250,000 gets added each year. And then the big $50 million we'll see in the note, but that's your interest in the student union building, a little bit in Maggie Benston, and again, all your furniture and equipment. And all those assets are being amortized over their estimated useful life. And a little bit of intangible assets, $3,000. Well, the total assets are $73,595,000. And as you probably know already, these are quite substantial numbers in terms of large. Just quickly to overview the liabilities, the bank loan, the current portion, 1.532 million. That's the estimated principal you'll pay on the to the Scotia Bank for capital asset fund in your student union building. Various accounts payable, 4.6 million, that we'll see again in the note. The stadium contribution, the current portion, again, we'll talk about that in the note, 655,000. And deferred revenue, which a good chunk of that at 2.33 million, mostly relates to the undergraduate health plan. And that's because of the timing of the plan and the payments. The other liability, 6.31, the other part, or the non-current, we call it, of the stadium contribution. And then finally, the bank loan at $30,500,000. So at the end of the year, $46 million of liabilities. And then what's left over is called fund balances, and in this case, a minor deficit that we'll talk about in a minute. And you can see it all across the funds, but if we look at the total again, you can see in total this year, the total fund balances or equity are $27,589,000 versus last year about $26,406,000. So that means overall, compared to fiscal 22, your net assets or fund balances or equity has increased by about $1.18 million. And that means in general terms that overall the Student Society has improved its financial position as compared to last year. And then we're just going to overview from left to right the total fund balances in the funds. We'll look at that a bit in a moment. So you can see there's $3.7 million in the general fund. Capital asset fund, of course, would have quite a bit in it, given the building, 17.9. Build SFU has a temporary small deficit that will reverse itself this year. And then you can see the rest of the fund balances or equity in the other funds like space expansion, undergraduate health plan, etc. And for you folks who aren't that familiar with not-for-profit accounting, the fund balances are the equivalent in a profit business of retained earnings. So generally speaking, you've improved your financial position. But again, as you can see, there's some substantial amounts, some very large amounts, and you folks are the custodians. So now we're going to go to the next page, the statement of operations and changes in fund balances. And the statement we looked at was a point in time. Now we're going to look at the income statement that covers the fiscal year. And again, some of these items will be, some of the variations will be looked at in the applicable schedules in a moment. So the activity fees are up from 14.1 million to 14.7. But the real reason that's up is twofold. In Build SFU, the fees went up because it's based on inflation now, as well as the undergraduate health plan. And I think a rate increase in the fall of 22, and it's got quite a few students or members. Generally speaking, the activity fees or the student fees for the general fund are pretty flat overall. I think there was a bit less student registration, and during COVID, maybe there was just more folks going to school. Excuse me. Some of the other highlights on the revenue side, again, we're not going to highlight the real small amounts. A little bit of general office, more rental revenue this year. I think you had 3 full tenants for the year, up to 138,000. Some other GSS revenue, and then a couple items to focus on. You can see your investment income is quite substantial this year, 659,000 versus 218 last year. And that might be a function also of the interest rates that went up quite a bit by the end of April. And then, as we noted earlier, the marketable securities are recorded on a market value basis. So the increase from last year to this year is 18,900. In the prior year, you had a decline, and that makes sense because back in the spring of 22, the markets were quite unstable, for lack of a better word. So total revenues, 15.6 million. Now the expenses, again, these are totals because generally speaking, the operations seem to get back to more like pre-COVID lot more going on versus the pandemic years where, of course, the building took a while to open. So there are increases in many of the categories. You can see administration and financial office, the general office, build SFU, and again, we'll touch on some of those in the applicable schedule, as well as building operating costs going up simply because you're becoming, there's more going on and it's back to almost a normal type period. Some of the other big expenditures you can see in the 7.319 item, a good chunk of that comes from your general fund. But the most comes from the health plan, 5.526 million, and that makes sense. That's all the costs of your premiums and related costs. Now, a couple items to point out: the discretionary grants to the department student unions and the clubs. The spending is up quite a bit, you can see, as compared to last year. We think that some of that, a good chunk of that was budgeted, but I believe both areas went over budget this year. And then finally, you have the student bursaries, which is up a bit at 382,000 versus 361. The amortization of the building, 1.585 million, is non-cash. That's book depreciation. And interest expense of 1.699 million is mostly the interest on the student union bank loan and a little bit from the 10-year amount, the $10 million amount relating to the stadium payable. Minor amount of bad debts, some cleanup from old debts and so on. So total expenses are less this year, and that's primarily because in the prior year, the stadium contribution had to be recorded as a period expense in the year the obligation came up, because the Student Society does not have a true benefit from an accounting point of view. It was like a contribution towards that, even though it benefits the students who go to the stadium and so on. So the bottom line for the year, you can see 1.183 million to the good. Last year was a big loss, 6.6 million, because of the treatment of the stadium contribution. And if you go from left to right, at the excess of revenue or a deficiency of expenses for the year, some of the highlights, you can see in the general fund, the loss for the year was 549,000. The capital asset fund, you expect to have a so-called loss because it's non-cash depreciation. Build SFU at a positive revenue or expense, 2.794. And then you can just see going left to right, the other funds and so on. That's how you get to the 1.183 million. So that's a summary of the statement of operations and changes in fund balance. Now, we don't propose to go through the statement of cash flows unless anyone has any questions. It's pretty accounting-ish, for lack of a better word. So we're going to highlight some of the notes to the financial statements. They're all important or they wouldn't be there. We're going to highlight and, like I said, excuse me. So nature of the organization, you are not for profit, but you are not a registered charity because you're not allowed to be one. So because you're incorporated under the Societies Act, you do file 2 income tax returns, a corporate income tax return and an information. So it's important that that gets done. The significant accounting policies, you follow what we call Canadian ASNPO. That's Canadian Accounting Standards for Not-for-Profit Organizations. Not a whole lot of estimates in the accounts. A few like the estimated useful life of your tangible capital assets, which is the biggest item. You do follow what we call the deferral method. That means generally if you get a grant or something like that for a restricted purpose by a third party, it's typically revenue when you spend it. And we talked about earlier a little bit, you should read through, if you haven't already, all the different funds and what they in fact relate to. I suspect most of you folks understand what those are. So we're going to just move through then, please, Pamela, to the revenue recognition and just highlight a couple of those items. As we mentioned, you follow the deferral method. The one big revenue stream is the student activity fees, and they're recognized according to the academic terms that they relate to. Health plan are recognized over the term of the plan of coverage, which I think runs, it's an August year end. And any other revenues are pretty much like any commercial enterprise. When you rent out a space, you recognize the revenue when the space is rented out. If you happen to sell anything, it's when the goods exchange, but you don't do carrying on to the next page, please. A couple highlights: the investment in marketable securities, as we noted earlier, they're recorded at market value. That's why you see that change. And there are contributed services by a lot of folks, and coming out with fair value isn't really practical. Now, financial instruments are important, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. But the financial instruments that are assets are cash, cash held in trust, receivables, and the financial liabilities that are financial instruments are your accounts payable, stadium contribution, and your bank loan. We didn't see any need to propose any impairments of any financial assets, like your accounts receivables and so on. Turning the page, please, we'll start to highlight some of the other notes that will give you a little more information about what's there. No funds left in the future contingency reserve, although the monies haven't been spent. And here's the investment in marketable securities. For those who don't know, you can see a breakdown of the type of investments where you have fixed income and Canadian equities. And the fixed income, you can see the market value at the end of the year is less than the cost. Typically, if you keep the fixed income until their maturity, you're going to get back probably what you paid for in terms of the investment. But with the interest rates being so volatile the last year or so, sometimes fixed income jumps around the market value. Note 5, the next page, accounts receivable, gives you a bit of an idea what's there. Nothing too out of the ordinary. The big comparative item is in fiscal 22, the undergraduate health plan. There was a big premium adjustment when you changed the type of plan it was, and Blue Cross owed the society 1.656 million. Prepaid amounts, pretty standard, except the big amount, not except, but the insurance premium on the health plan, you can see $1.8 million, which covers a great chunk of it. Note 7 is your tangible capital assets. Standard disclosure, cost, accumulated amortization, net book value. You can see the amortization rates. And as you can see there, you still have a little bit of a leasehold interest in a minor amount of space in Maggie Benston. And of course, the big item is the sub building. You can see under other capital assets, other furniture and equipment, where you've spent a fair bit of money getting the student union building up and running and so on. Turning the page, note 8 is pretty small, just the intangible assets. Note 9, accounts payable. The accounting standard requires anything due to any government bodies. So you can see the GST, PST, and some payroll withholdings. And the big item payable-wise are in the build SFU, about $2 million. That's a combination of operating costs over a couple of years that you're trying to sort out with the university, as well as the last bit of the amounts relating to the construction of student union building. And then the health and dental plan premiums, 1.8 million. Note 10 talks a bit about some of your internally restricted amounts. A health plan reserve was set up some years ago to help when the years aren't so successful financially in that health plan reserve. And this year, at the end of last year, the monies were all spent. Future contingency reserve is still there, the $650,000. And keep in mind these reserves, like contingency and COVID, there's not a legal requirement to spend that money. Council can add or delete with a resolution. In the COVID emergency fund, just so you know, it was decided during the year that that had been used up. So 391,000 was left over and it got transferred back into the general. Note 11. is important. As you probably know, the SFSS is really an agent for these autonomous groups that are all on campus. So the money comes from the university for these fees, comes through to your society, and then you pay them out to these groups. It's important to note that these are not your revenues, so they're not on your income statement as revenue and expenses, but it's good disclosure, we believe, and those parties can see the amounts that get flowed out to them. They're really a flow through, for lack of a word. Note 12 hasn't too much in it in terms of details, the building maintenance. And then we won't go through line by line, but note 13 describes what's considered to be the significant commitments. B is the undergraduate health plan, which goes to the end of August 23, and you're maybe in negotiations already to get the new terms. D is the quite long-winded student union building lease, I believe is for 50 years with 2 10-year renewals. And you have some commitments. You don't, you pay $1 a year for the lease, but you do have your proportionate operating costs and so on that can add up. Note E, important. This is how the bank loan and the interest rates have been handled through an interest rate swap with the bank, and you make use of these bankers' acceptances. And you can see the total bank loan at the balance at the end of the year, 32 million was owing, and the estimated to be paid in the next fiscal year on the principal, 1.532 million. Next page, 13F, we should just spend a minute, and I apologize if some of this is a bit detailed, but basically, as we noted earlier, $10 million was a stadium contribution. Because it was paid over time and didn't have any interest terms, under the accounting standards, this is a financial instrument. So what we had to do is discount the payments on a net present value basis. And so that's why, even though you're going to pay them $10 million over time and you've met all your required payments to date to the end of the year, as you can see, you're paid up to the end of November 22, but all these other payments will be paid in the future, and $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, so it gets discounted. And if we go down to the next note, please, you can see the discounted amounts and so on, and how we get to the current portion and that type of thing. Note 14 is...
Just to interject, the difference between this payment here and this payment up here, just to make sure everyone understands, will be the interest that gets expensed every year.
Right, because of the discount.
Because of the discount.
Thanks, Pamela.
You're welcome.
And then note 14, pretty standard disclosure, related parties are any person or entity that can exert significant influence on the organization, and by definition, that's council members and so on. So some disclosure is set out there. And I think there's a one position that might have had a couple people or overlap. If I remember right, was that the president?
Yeah, there was a president and a couple others, if I remember correctly. I don't have that information quite right in front of me though, but we could look that up later if we need to.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Note 15 is more discussion and disclosure on the financial instruments. Credit risk here is pretty low. In terms of receivables, almost all your revenues flow from fees collected by the university. So very nominal risk, if any. And you do have some risk with respect to tenants and so on if they don't pay their share of their rent. You're also exposed to credit risk with respect to your cash in theory. I mean, the Bank of Nova Scotia is a major bank. Very low risk, and the marketable securities because they're subject to an open market. Liquidity risk at the end of the year, you can see from the statement of financial position is very solid or in good shape. And interest rate risk you do have with respect to your cash, marketable securities, and of course the bank loan. The market risk is a mix of various items, but as you know, stock markets go up and down and so on. So there's a combination of interest rate risk, currency risk, and just simply market risk and price risk. We'll carry on to note 16. It's got a fair amount of detail, but it does give you a bit of history about Build SFU and the funding. As we noted earlier, originally the levy started, I believe, in 2014 or thereabouts, $10 for full-time students, and half of that, or $5 for part-time. That went up proportionally every year until this year, and where it maxed out. And now increases are based on inflation. And of course, because of the inflation over the last year or two, increased quite a bit.
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt,
Yeah,
but I
go ahead,
see
Lee.
Sam has a list inside of the chats.
Is there some ways, does
Sam?
someone have some questions? We're almost done, and then maybe we can come back to the questions. Does that work? What do you prefer?
Seeing as how we're almost near the end, I say we could continue with the rest of the presentation, and then the Q&A happens afterwards.
That work?
Very nice.
Good.
All right then.
Thank you. Okay, so and then as we noted earlier, you can see all that cash held in trust that flows in and out of Simon Fraser University and trust for you folks, because that's the way the deal works, or the agreement. Wages and benefits. Any employees paid $75,000 or more under the Societies Act, there has to be some general disclosure, and that's what this is. I don't think it's ordinary. And then note 18, a bit of information on your agreement with Fraser National, which goes, I think, to 26. And then finally, it was decided the other day to leave the COVID note in, and hopefully next year you can eliminate that. But it does give everyone a little bit of background that you've got back to pre-pandemic levels and so on, but you do have a hybrid model. So we're now going to spend a couple minutes on the schedules and try and highlight, and don't worry about these little references. That's for us. Those will come off the final statement. These red items, that's so we can track the amounts to our working papers if anything comes up in particular. So revenues this year, the food bank, some of that is based on how you spend the money, as I noted earlier. So the revenues are up at 34,000. Most of the expenses are pretty comparable in the general office, a bit more in wages and benefits. And I believe you had another coordinator position in the general office. Administration and financial office, you can see the insurance, you would expect the 45,000 to go up because rates are going up a lot. Most of you probably know that. And then the wages and benefits, some of the highlights on that, that's where your temporary operation organizer is put through, as well as you had an admin coordinator for the full year this year. And there was more time spent this year, assistants put in, and I think there was some increase in rates. So that hopefully.
There's also top up paid for the people who are on maternity or paternity leave.
Yes, thank you for that. And then Build SFU, as the building really got into its first kind of normal year in this last fiscal year, there was the need for more coordinators and building assistants, because as everyone comes back in, it's a fairly large structure, so there's a lot going on there. But that's the increase in the Build SFU office. And finally, Schedule 2, to highlight some of the items here, at least the bigger variations. Ticketed events this year, you had the Holly event, had revenue about $20,000, so the net cost was about $14,000. This is a much better result than the Student Society. Some of you probably don't know, but about 3 years ago, it was quite a substantial net from a couple of events. I think it was about $100,000. As you can see, elections that related to more with IEC commissioners. That's 62,000 versus 41,000. Traveling conference, we suspect that's just getting back to normal and getting out because of less COVID going on, and that's probably more normal, for lack of a better word. Advocacy and representation, a couple of the variation, the communication office. I think this year in some of these categories of increases, they relate to some positions being full-time this year versus part-time last year. So for example, communications office, the officer was there a full year this year. Campaigns, research policy, same thing, campaign coordinator there for a full year. Accessibility office, same thing, coordinator there for a full year, the 97, you can see that. SOCA, I think an assistant position was created in 2023. Some of the other highlights here, the Women's Center, there was more assistant hours this year, and there was a decision to make do more spending on special events and outreach. Out of campus, had a coordinator for a full year and a bit more spent in the programming area. And the other variation a bit somewhat is the Surrey campus, where again, you had a full year of coordinator versus not a full year in the prior year. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a general idea about some of the bigger numbers and the variations. So those are the draft statements, which we're going to be open to some questions here in a minute or comments. We're just now going to refer to the auditor's opinion. So as we said earlier, the statements are yours, the Student Society. What is ours is the independent auditor's report. And the good news is the opinion is what we call clear, unqualified. So what the opinion, without going through every line, it says that in our opinion, statements present fairly in all material respects in accordance with the standard that you follow, Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. And that's obviously a good thing. So now we can go to some of your questions and comments. How do you want to handle this, Liam?
Oh, questions are going to go down the order of the lists inside of the chat. There are currently 2 lists inside of the chat right now. First one goes to Sam, MBB counselor.
Yeah, I'm just.
Hello.
Oops.
Sam.
Yep. My question is relating to the I believe it was 4 or 5 pages up with the exact pay for 2022 as compared to 2023. Just it looks higher than what's stated in the. I was just wondering what accounted for the increase in the year-to-year costs for most of them.
Well, if you look through that, you can see they're relatively comparable, and you can see the positions in some of the slight changes. Like, for example, if you look VP External and Community Affairs, up about 4 or 5. Sorry, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello?
No, that must have been a sound fluke. Continue.
Okay. And so all you can really do is look through the comparisons, and you can see where the variants were.
I believe in some situations there were a few more hours by certain positions as compared to the prior years because of some vacancies and things like that. If I'm not mistaken, I think Abby could probably confirm that for us since he was here for both years. And I believe, and then if I'm not mistaken, did you not also have a slight rate increase at one point during the year as well for certain positions? And I believe a number of the counselor positions last year weren't, well, actually, yeah. So your counselor positions are almost the same. It's mostly the executives. So I believe it's more to do with that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, I see. It looks like Abby's typing a response as well.
Yeah,
Liam,
that's
is
a
it okay
direct
to respond to
response. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I can confirm we did have vacancies. So I went from VP Finance to acting president mid-year. And we had a number, I think we had a total of 3 VP internals last year and a couple of VP equities. But I don't recall there being, I could be mistaken, I don't recall there being a rate increase. I'm just a little confused on that myself.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now what I've read in the minutes. I thought I remember, unless that's related to your current fiscal year and not the one, because of course it's been a little while since I've read the minutes.
I mean, it's probably then, if that's the case, I think Abby covered it then.
I think
so did Pamela on some of the variants. Hopefully that makes sense.
Sam, did you have any other additional questions?
No, I do not.
Thank you for that.
For the record, to all the other counselors here, we execs didn't do anything sketchy, we swear.
No, we didn't see any of that in our sampling, so.
Thank goodness. Abby, you're next on the list, if you're still listening.
Yes, thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna talk. Yeah. First of all, sorry for that extra interruption. That was my fault. When Sam was talking. Good to see you again, Gary and Pamela.
Yes.
Likewise.
My question would be, I think you mentioned we're in a pretty strong financial position this year, especially relative to last year. Would the VP Finance at the time have anything to do with that, or was that more just the operational side?
Well, that's a good question. If you go back though, when we said that, that was because that's on a global basis. But if you go to the statement of operations or the income statement, you can see here, if we look across, see where Pamela's got the marker there. The general fund actually had a loss of 549,000. And where the improvement overall came from was the Build SFU fund has 2.794 to the good, revenue over expense. And some of the other funds are all, and the space expansion had quite a bit of net income, 352. So when you add all those together, including the general fund, the overall financial position is better. But as you can see here, the general fund, had a $549,000 loss, but it can absorb it because it has the equity built up. But of course, going forward, you don't want to have $500 to $1 million loss every year, because eventually that equity gets, eroded. And that's what they had some years ago, where this general fund hardly had any equity or fund balance. And that makes the general day-to-day operations quite difficult. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, very nice.
Any other questions?
If there are any other questions, now would be the time to ask them. It looks like we are good. And with that being said, I'd like to sincerely thank you guys for the
Well, that's great,
presentation.
Liam. Just a couple quick things in terms of how to get things finalized, if you don't mind. So a couple things. We also prepare what's called an audit findings letter, used to be called a management letter, which we went through the executive and with your finance team. They are going to do some responses, I understand. And then once they've done their responses to some of the recommended tightening up of a few things in the internal controls and so on, I believe then they will take it to executive. If they're happy, then they'll bring it to council, show council that, everything has been dealt with, what the independent auditors brought up. You don't always have to agree with us, but you should respond, because that's just best practice. Now, to get the statements all finalized by early next week, two things have to happen. We don't have to be here for the next step, but I think someone might have mentioned it on one of the amendments to the agenda. You'll need to have a resolution to pass the financial draft statements as presented. And then you just got to let us know that that happened. And then once we hear that, then we send out the standard representation letter, probably to you, Liam, and VP Finance, which is standard to sign off, as well as Kurt. And once we have that, then we can look to go final early next week and get rid of the draft. And then you'll be able to post that to your website in anticipation for the late October AGM.
I see. Thank
Does
you
all that
very
make
much.
sense?
Thank you for clarifying the process. Yes.
Okay,
That
and
makes sense.
well, thank you for your time. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, but there's a lot there. You folks have a lot going on. If you ever have any questions or comments, just call us, send us an email, whatever works.
Oh, and thank you, Gary and Pamela.
Oh, our
for your time
pleasure.
as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you
It was
all.
wonderful seeing
Have
you
a
guys
good
again.
night. See you soon. Bye.
You as well. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Very nice. Now, next up on our list, Ashley, please correct me if I am wrong, but I am looking at the carry forward postpone agenda items from last year's agenda.
I actually put on financial statement proposal approval first. So I was a
okay.
bit unclear based on my email. I put it in chat, but I think we should approve the thing we just saw now and then go into the AGM agenda.
I see. All right then. And then after the AGM agenda motion, would it then be the lease terms with SFU?
It would be
Okay,
the
then.
lease stuff, both the in-camera and then the motion.
All right, now that I got the ordering inside of my mind, we can go forward to the financial statement proposal approval. In this case, I would like to move. Would anyone like to second?
Internal?
Health science.
I hear internal as seconded. So whereas the financial statements have been presented to the executive committee on September 22nd, whereas the financial statements have been presented to council today, September 27th. This should say 2023, actually, should it?
You
Be it
are
res-
correct. That is a typo on my part there.
We will act like we have not seen that. Be it resolved that the council approves the financial statements for presentation and filing for the SFSS membership at the annual general meeting, the AGM. Just as a point blank note, this financial statement presentation, there is nothing sketchy inside of it. It is purely a good thing. Oh, Sam, you got a list?
Yes. I motion to amend the financial statement proposal approval to read September 27th, 2023.
You move it.
Internal
I
second.
second. Internal seconds, seeking unanimous consent. There is no dissent. It has been officially amended. In motion's exactly the same, but it says 2023. As for voting on the motion itself, I am also seeking unanimous consent. And I am also receiving no dissents. This motion passes unanimously. Well done, friends. Which one is the next one? Yes, it would be the carry forward postpone agenda items from 2022 to 2023 agenda. I will read it aloud. Whereas a VP internal and organizational development, along with a vice chair of council, a vice chair of the governance committee, and the policy research and community affairs coordinator have drafted 6 motions containing bylaw changes to go on to last year's agenda for the 2022 SFSS annual general meeting. Whereas the AGM last year did not meet quorum, and therefore the bylaw changes were not implemented, whereas the current VP internal and organizational development has worked with the temporary operations organizer and the policy research and community affairs coordinator to amend and update the postponed agenda items. Be it resolved to carry forward the postponed agenda items from the 2022 AGM as amended. I might have forgotten to move in second. I will do that now. I move. Would anyone like to second?
Internal.
Internal seconds. I will quickly seek unanimous consent. Ashley, you have a list.
Yeah, I just figured I should perhaps maybe explain what this actually is and means to council. I did send an email about it, so hopefully you guys had time to give that a quick look over. But essentially what this is for the AGM, we have to approve our agenda today with all of the motions that are going to go on it. For transparency's sake, most of these motions were things that were approved for last year's AGM, but did not go forward due to us not reaching quorum at last year's AGM. Again, for transparency, I will say I did make amendments to these and little changes. If people have questions about exactly what was changed, I'm more than happy to answer those now. But in general, a lot of it was just a few wording things in the whereas clauses, as well as a couple grammatical things that were missed. There's also a couple motions we decided not to include. But otherwise, it's all pretty straightforward stuff. So if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But in general, this is just an approval of the draft.
Well said. I agree. Are there any further questions, comments, and concerns about this motion? Now's the time to quickly present them. And actually, you have sent a copy of these details through an email, is that right? Hello?
My computer's freezing. Oh, hello. Hi. Yes. My computer was being strange. But yes, I did send an email to which you can see the draft agenda as well as all of the other documents associated with the AGM that can be sent out to council at this time.
Okay, thank you. Very nice. So for transparency's sake, the information is there. All right then. Moving forward, I seek unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. Then this motion passes unanimously. Excellent. I am looking for the next motion. Let me see here. This should be the renegotiation of lease terms with SFU for the Student Union building. I will read this aloud. Whereas the Simon Fraser Student Society has previously signed a lease agreement with Simon Fraser University for the Student Union building, whereas it has come to our attention that some of the definitions within the lease, particularly those related to operating costs and building costs, do not inadequately reflect the intended spirit of the agreement, whereas the university has expressed its willingness
Hey, Liam,
to engage. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt, but we were supposed to go in camera to discuss this motion before voting upon it.
Oh, this is an in-camera motion. Is that right?
No, well, the motion itself isn't in camera. You're good to read it aloud, but we should go in camera to have John kind of explain the context around this.
Oh, I see. All right then. So before we vote on the motion, we first go into in-camera. We go out of the camera and then we vote.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds good. Then until we get to that point, I am prepared to go into in-camera right away, but if there are any other immediate motions we have before we get to that point, we could deal with those first. Oh,
I
Tulene, I
recommend
see you have a
going.
list.
I recommend going in camera right now, but you should get to her list.
Noted. Noted. Tulene?
Yeah, why are we going in camera? Or how are we justifying this to membership when they see this?
There are subjects within the negotiation for the sublease that are best not to be recorded. Actually, do you have a better direct response for this one? I feel like I gave a crappy answer.
Sorry, I missed the question. Could you repeat it?
How are we justifying an in-camera? Oh, Abby's saying it's negotiations with SFU.
John,
Sure.
your direct response.
Yeah, I mean, just effectively what Abby has just put in the chat there. So this would constitute kind of commercially sensitive information. It is in regards to effectively a contract that we have with the university. It is all pending at the moment, so as not to give away our position or to give away too much information ex camera. We can discuss the finer details in camera, but the motion itself gives a fairly good idea of people as to what this is about.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. All right, without further ado, I would like, Ashley, yes, please make a breakout room. And while you are on that, I would like to move to go in camera for this portion of the meeting. Is anyone seconding?
MBB.
I hear MBB seconds, seeking unanimous consent to go officially in camera. I'm getting no dissent. If that's the case, I will stop my recording. Recording has been resumed. Now I move to go back to X camera until we go back in camera again. Would anyone like to second?
University.
I hear university would like to second. I seek unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. We are X camera. Now we get straight to the motion. I will reread it aloud and ask for a mover and seconder. Renegotiations of lease terms with SFU for student union building. I move. Does anybody second?
MBB.
I hear MBB seconds. So whereas the Simon Fraser Student Society has previously signed a lease agreement with the Simon Fraser University for the student union building, whereas it has come to our attention that some of the definitions within the lease, particularly those related to operating costs and building costs, do not adequately reflect the intended spirit of the agreement, whereas the university has expressed its willingness to engage in negotiations to amend certain terms of the lease, whereas these negotiations have the potential to result in significant cost savings for the society over the duration of the lease. Be it resolved that the SFSS shall task the following individuals with the responsibility to initiate and oversee negotiations with SFU regarding the proposed changes to the lease. These being the facilities manager, the operations organizer, the president, and the president. So be it further resolved that the president, upon receiving a favorable recommendation from either the facility manager or the operations organizer, is hereby authorized to accept any proposed changes to the lease that are deemed advantageous to the SFSS. We are not making any amendments to this one, as I've seen. So I will go straight to seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so now. I am seeing none. This motion passes unanimously. Very well done. Okay. That was a very important motion. For which one is next? I see the BIPOC at-large member election, but there are ones before that.
Sorry, what did you just say, Liam?
Oh, I was saying which would be the next motion we have in line.
We have the sublease motion. I can post it in chat real quick.
The sublease?
Oh, we just passed that one. Never mind. After that one,
Yes.
we actually are going back in camera for the rest of the in-camera discussions.
Careful. There is a. I also had an amendment. I see. Appointing councilors X and Y.
Yeah, that would go into new business.
All new business? All right then. Okay, and the BIPOC at-large member election is also going to be in business. Then I guess we go straight back into in camera. We all know the drill at this point. I move to go in camera for the remainder of the in-camera discussion items we have left on the agenda. Does anybody second?
Events.
I hear events seconds. Seeking unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. If that's the case, I will pause the recording. Ashley, could you help me out here? Are we still in a breakout room or are we gone from that now?
I believe we're outside the breakout room. You
Okay,
have
sounds good.
started the recording, so you're just
Yes.
gonna move her in seconder.
Yeah, all right then. I move to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. Anybody seconds?
Health science.
I hear health science seconds. So be it resolved to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. Oh, but Ashley, you have the list.
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to give a quick summary of things that are available to be said ex camera. I'm handing it over to Nancy to further elaborate.
If that's good, Liam.
Yeah.
All right, just to go over the summary again, we're talking about the TSSU strike that is starting tomorrow. And once again, please stress this to any of your friends, other students, post on your story. Please, we want students to be aware. So starting tomorrow will be the Surrey picket line, is starting at 6 a.m. And then we have our Vancouver picket, which is at 8 a.m. And then Burnaby, the Vancouver picket is on the 29th, so the Friday at 8 a.m. And then Burnaby is October 3rd, so next week, Tuesday, at 8 a.m. So yeah, so what we're pretty much doing is students, let them know that they are able to join the picket line if they'd like. They are able to cross the picket line if they like. They can not cross the picket line, up to them. It is solely your guys' choice on how you guys would like to go about the picket lines and things like that. And also just another just reference to everyone as well. Starting tomorrow, it's going to be an indefinite full work stoppage from all TSSU members. So no tutorials, no labs, no marking from your TAs, no emails. From, like, you can email your TA, but I doubt they're going to respond because they're not supposed to respond. So they're not going to email you back. No online work, no research, stuff like that. So full work stoppage. So if you notice that your tutorials and labs are being canceled, this is why. Yeah. So that's pretty much everything. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to cover with that. As for the sub on Tuesday, we don't have anything yet, but we'll update the student body as soon as we have something, and that will just be on us to update. So just look out for us. We'll send a message out to council and we'll allow council to kind of go about that, but we'll let you guys know. We'll fill you guys in on an SFS side of things, but we just want to let you guys know that this is what's going on. Cool.
Hey, just a quick question. This is tomorrow on Burnaby campus, correct?
I'm sorry.
No, tomorrow is Surrey. Burnaby is on Tuesday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Vancouver's on Friday.
That would be correct.
All right then. I forgot to seek unanimous consent to go X camp for the remainder of the meeting. Let's do that really quick. I'm seeking unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. We are officially X camp. Very good. For the interest of time now, I'm gonna go back up and see which of the motions we have left. Mhm. Okay. The next motion we have seems to be ESAC restructuring. This is the motion submitted by IO at the very front. If I'm right on this, I'll try to share the PDF back up again. Okay then. Take a look at the messages. IO and Thomas have amendments. Yes, yes, they do. And then there's elections. It was just the MOU. The MOU we discussed about quite thoroughly. And then, okay, Ashley, do you have a list?
No, that list was from before.
Okay, all right then. Then if that's the case, let's take care of IO's amendment. I will read it aloud. ESAC restructuring. So I move. Would anyone like to second?
Internal was second.
I hear internal second. So in accordance with bylaw 13.7, which reads as follows: any member of council who, without prior authorization by council, is absent from 5 regularly scheduled meetings of council, or is absent from 3 consecutive regularly scheduled meetings of council, whichever occurs first, shall be deemed to have abandoned their position, and the council chair shall declare that seat vacant forthwith. Be it resolved that Sophie Badzio, apologies if there are pronunciation errors, be removed from the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the remainder of the 2023 to 24 academic year. Be it resolved to appoint Devansh Koshar as a student at large for the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the remainder of the 2023 to 24 academic year, and be it resolved to appoint counselors X and Y to the Events and Student Affairs Committee for the remainder of the academic year. This is a very sad motion, but I saw it coming. Just for quick clarity, does this motion include an election for counselors X and Y?
Yes.
I see.
So we just need 2 counselors, well, technically we have 4 seats open, but I think only 2 are necessary right now to be filled for the Events and Student Affairs Committee. So yeah, I would highly recommend that counselors who currently do not have a committee nominate themselves to this committee.
Very good. Do we know if Devansh is currently inside the meeting at the moment?
Devansh isn't a counselor, he is just a student.
Okay, then
So
chances are
this is
he's
just-
not in the meeting.
Yeah, this is just like an at large, just for at large. Yeah.
Very good. So before we end up voting on the motion, I said we get to the election first. Or the call for nominations. To be clear, these are to fill in the 2 empty positions currently on the Events and Student Affairs Committee. I'd like to go for a first call of nominations. Blank. I'd like to go for a second call for
Ashley has a
nominations.
list.
My bad, I missed it. Ashley.
Hi, Liam. Sorry, it's Seb nominating on Ashley's computer again. Electronics have not been my friend tonight. I would like to nominate the archaeology counselor for the events committee.
Oh, for archaeology. All right, note that down. Archaeology, what's your response?
I appreciate it, Ashley, but I had my eyes set on a different committee, so I'm gonna have to say no.
I see. Unfortunate. Tilly says, can I self-nominate for equity? Tilly, what do you mean by that? Oh, Ashley?
Yeah, you're absolutely able to nominate yourself for a committee. If you'd like to nominate yourself for the equity committee, I recommend waiting until the equity committee election appears, and then during the call for nominations, you can nominate yourself.
We're currently situated at 0 spots. I go for a third call for nominations. Andres, I see you got a list.
Yeah, this is not about like me not nominating myself. So this is about like elections, but it's not about this committee. Could I wait or can I speak?
Just hang on for about 5 seconds. Third call for nominations. No, there is none. That means as far as the motion is concerned, Councilors X and Y is still going to be Councilors X and Y. But as for the rest of the motion, yeah, I'd still like to vote on that first. Andre, your list now?
Yeah, okay. So it is my understanding that there is some people in like councilors that have no committees, right? Is there a way to like I don't know if they have been reminded. As for my understanding, they have not been, or even like pushed to join one. So I don't know if there's any way to like for it to be like any sort of consequences, like a reduction in their stipend, because it is a responsibility of a counselor to be in at least one committee. So yeah, I don't know if I was just asking if that's a possibility or something around the lines of that.
Oh, you are very, very right about that, Andre. Being a part of a committee is a kind of a requirement a counselor is supposed to have. And eventually, you are right in the way that this will eventually lead to something that affects their stipend, which is something that I'm a bit concerned about at the moment, given that we still have people who aren't part of committees. Oh, Sinika, you have a direct response?
I actually directly responded first.
Oh, I did not see that. You're right. Your direct response goes first.
Yeah, I can answer that question, Andre. Actually, counselors who are not on a committee have been giving ample warning. I believe an email was sent out 1 or 2 weeks ago by myself, as well as during every council meeting. Whenever there is a committee election, I always announce out that counselors are required to sit on at least one committee, but of course more than welcome to sit on more. For the counselors who are not sitting on a committee, an email was specifically sent out to them warning them of this. However, with that being said, both me and the VP Finance are very understanding of various situations. Like, for instance, if a counselor had their eye on a specific committee but happened to be not here when that committee election occurred, we are, of course, very understanding. But what we would like to see is counselors be more proactive about wanting to join a committee. Perhaps feel free to send me or the Vice Chair of Council an email specifically requesting a committee you want to join on. Or right now, just join a committee, and then there's absolutely zero risk of you being fined in the future.
Thank you. So yeah, retracts direct response. That means Andre, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for answering that, Ashley. Yeah, I was just mentioning it because I know like 2 or 1 counselor that mentioned that they hadn't been like remembered, or they didn't receive any type of notification. So yeah, probably they missed it or they were lying. I don't know, but yeah, just wanted to highlight that. But thanks.
Okay. Io, you're next on the list. And then after this, we're going straight to voting.
Yeah, I wanted to move to suspend the final clause of the motion till the next meeting.
Chances are it's going to get postponed regardless. Those seats are still empty, but you're right. All right, then.
Yeah.
You move to, I second it. Seeking unanimous consent. I'm getting no dissent. we can suspend the second clause, but as far as the first clause go, the very, very upsetting first clause go, let's go vote on that. I have moved and seconded for it, so I am seeking unanimous consent again. There is no dissent, so this motion has unfortunately been passed. Let's take a look at what is next in line. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the next one would be the motion that came from Priyanka. BIPOC at-large member election. Is someone speaking at the moment? No, I don't think so. All right then. Well, without further ado, I would like to move this. Would anyone like to second it?
Equity.
I hear equity second. So whereas SO 10.14, the selection of student at-large members of this committee will be prioritized to BIPOC community members, whereas there are 6 seats available for at-large members. Be it resolved to elect Elvin Asitola, I apologize if there's pronunciation mistakes, to serve as an at-large member on the BIPOC committee for the rest of the council term. I seek unanimous consent. I get no dissent. This has been quickly passed unanimously. Thank you. With that motion over, I believe we have finally broken into the new business items. If my memory is right, which is going to be one stack of elections. We will get to it right away. As we can see from my screen, we start with 12.1 Member Service Advisory Committee election, submitted by the MVP Councilor. I move. Would anyone like to second?
Equity.
I hear equity second. So whereas there are 2 vacant seats available in the Member Service Advisory Committee, be it resolved to elect councilors F and G to serve on the MSA for the council term 2023 to 24. I would like to make a first call for nominations. Let me take a look at the chat here. May we get a description of the position? I am not familiar with this committee as I would like to be. Io, would you like to list? Io?
Sorry, my mouse got lost. Just give me a second. Let me just pull up what I currently do have. Okay, so the basics of it is the Member Services Advisory Committee basically overlooks a bunch of the operations of the SFSS, including student unions and clubs. Those are our 2 main focuses. And so basically it's more or less it works as sort of a precursor to bringing a motion either to executive committee or council in motions that involve the student unions or the clubs. Also be working in conjunction with the staff, working with staff members, especially the coordinators, as to what motions are brought to either party. So far, the first meeting will be taking place, I think, next week. So far, it hasn't exactly been a rushing need, but it is imperative that we do get people on this. I think there are currently 2 counselors on it, and like I said, the first meeting is next week, so it probably would be best if we have a full plate for the first meeting at the very least.
Thank you. I'd like to continue with the first call I made for nominations. Any takers, anybody? No? All right, then I will go for the second call for nominations. I'm getting more silence. I'm going to cautiously move to my third call for nominations. Third and last call, and this is the one for the Member Service Advisory Committee. All right, there is none. Hold on. I got one list from Abby.
I'm just gonna start throwing people under the bus. I nominate the chemistry counselor.
Chemistry counselor, are you available to respond? Chemistry? I'm sorry, Abby, but they seem to be in a coma-like state. I appreciate you for the attempt, though. I admire it. Priyanka, you got a list?
Yeah, I'm gonna randomly nominate people too. Economics counselor.
Is economics available to respond? Hello, economics? Yeah, I'd stay quiet as well. Makes sense. These are smart people. We might have to effectively postpone this motion then. Abby, could you remind me if this has to be something that I move in second for, or is it something that happens automatically?
Sorry, apologies. Could you repeat that, Liam?
Postponing this motion because the seats are not filled, right? This election's definitely going to come back and haunt us later on. Is this something that just happens automatically by itself, or is it something that I move in second for?
Yeah, move in second to postpone.
Okay, all right. Well,
Oh, we have a list. We have a list.
yes, I agree. I'd like to expect the nomination. Before that, CSS Council, would you like to accept the nomination?
You're asking me, Liam?
No, you not you. I was talking about the from CSS inside of the chat. Oh, they said yes. They said yes. That is remarkable. I will note that down right away. Xiao Hanli from CSS. Excellent. Henry, you are next on the list.
I nominate BSU.
Okay. BSU, do you accept the nomination?
I sure do. I was holding out for a different position, but why not?
BSU, counselor. Thank you very much. All right, I got your name down. If that's the case, then no point in postponing it. Be it resolved to strike F and G from 12.1, replace them with Xiao Han, CSS counselor, and Nicholas, the BSU counselor, to serve on the MSA for the council term of 2023 to 24. I am seeking unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent, so be it resolved to officially elect counselors the CSS counselor and the BSU counselor to serve on the MSA for the rest of the council term. And I am seeking unanimous consent. I'm getting no dissent. This passes unanimously. Thank you and congratulations to both of you. Thank you so very much. The party isn't over. The next on the list is going to be the I just got a notification about breakout. It's very strange. The next on the list is going to be the members meeting planning committee election. I move. Would anyone like to second? Oh, good night, Emmanuel. Would anyone like to second?
Sociology.
I hear sociology seconds. So whereas there are 2 vacant seats available in the members meeting planning committee, be it resolved to elect councillors B and C to serve on the MMPC for the rest of the council term. In traditional fashion, I'd like to make a first call for nominations. Blank. Oh, goodbye, CSS Council. You have a good night. I'd like to make a second call for nominations. This is another blank. Hold on. Abby, you have a list?
Sorry, quick question. I don't know if I missed it. Was the what MMPC was explained, or do we need? Can I do that, or what's it?
Oh, no. This has not been explained. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you
just
are
quick
right
to
about
make
that.
it sum it up really easily, right? You're basically gonna help Ashley plan the AGM, and if you have any other SGMs, you're gonna help plan for that. It's a job that's gonna take a little bit of time right now, but for the rest of the year, it'll be pretty chill. So if you have time now and don't have time in spring, do this.
You're right. I forgot to explain it. My bad. Sindhu, you're next on the list.
Yeah, if someone needs a committee to join, this is a really easy one because Ashley has already done most of the work that's set out here. As you has seen, a big part of it is determining the agenda items and the accountabilities and preparing the annual report, which is mostly done. So if you're looking for a committee to join with not as many tasks, this is the time. The next few weeks might be a little busy, but it should be good after that because the AGM is on October 25th.
That is such a wonderful pitch. Thank you so much for that. Priyanka, you're next on the list.
I'm not sure if archaeology left yet, but I'll nominate them if they're still here.
Archaeology, would you respond?
I am holding out for equity, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Would you like to also be on the MMPC? There's practically no con side of that. You can be on multiple committees.
Okay, I'll accept.
Excellent. All right, we got one. Archaeology. All right, I got that written down. I'm looking for the next list. Ashley, you seem to have a direct response.
No, I actually just retracted my direct response, although I believe Sam had a list using my name.
I don't.
You may notice I have a list and then a direct response. I'm retracting the direct response, but I still have a list that I'm delegating to Sam.
Got it. Go ahead, Sam.
I would like to say that there are still a couple counselors here who do not have committees, and I would like to remind them that this is a committee where there's not much for them to do. And not being on committee makes you liable for a stipend reduction.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you have a committee you really want to join, please list it in the chat, as I don't know if we're gonna, as the time goes on, we get closer to losing quorum. So if there's committees where we have people who want to fill the seats, there will come a point when we should move the elections forward for those specific committees.
list one after this motion. Currently, we have archaeology taking the seat. Can't remember which call for nomination I'm on, but I'm just going to assume second. I'm on second call for nominations. Anybody? Nope. All right then. Third and final call for nomination. Abby, could you go pick victims now? Please and thank you kindly. Oh, Abby, your list.
Yeah, you told me to pick a victim. I'm just gonna randomly spin up the participants list and see what my finger lands on. Yeah. I nominate yeah.
Yeah. If you're here, would you like to give a response?
Hi, yes. I'm already in 2 committees. Do you mind if I think about it a little bit, or we need to pass this first?
You have a total of 5 seconds to think about it.
Oh, okay, then no, I'll stick with the 2 committees then.
There's virtually no tasks on this one. It is
Okay, you know what,
absolutely
then yes.
not.
Then you know what, yeah, why not?
We got it. Abby,
All right, thanks for the
got it.
nomination.
No. Thank you for accepting it.
All right, thank you.
We officially have 2. We were looking for 2. We got 2. Be it resolved to strike B and C on this motion, replace them
Liam,
yes.
We've lost quorum.
Oh my God. Oh no, we lost quorum. That's horrible. That is atrocious. This means we cannot move forward with the elections.
Hold on, Liam. I don't actually think we have. Can we count real quick?
Oh, of course. By all means, we must double check.
Oh, we have.
Sorry, Ashley, you seem to have cut out there. Ashley, yes, please list.
I'm trying.
Huh?
Go, Sam.
Hey, my name is not listed in the participants list as my device is not working. However, I am in the meeting. I'm currently sitting in the exec office.
So while we only have 22 in the Zoom room, we technically have 23 in the room. So we still have quorum. We are good to continue.
Ah, I see. That's very, very, very good. Where was I? Yes. Be it resolved to strike B and C on this motion. We replace them with archaeology counselor and SOCA counselor to serve on the MMPC for the rest of the council term. No, I might have to ask for a seconder for this one. Anyone care to second?
Internal seconds.
I couldn't hear. I like to call for a seconder again.
Internal?
I hear internal seconds. Seeking unanimous consent. There's no dissent, so be it officially resolved to officially elect archaeology counselor and the SOCA counselor to serve on the MMPC for the rest of the council term. Once again, seeking unanimous consent. Once again, receiving no dissent. This passes unanimously. Thank you both, and congratulations to both. Yes, now's the outreach committee election. I
have a list before this.
My bad. I definitely missed that. Please go for it.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to move to suspend the rules to move equity and oversight committee to items 12.3 and 12.4. Because I feel like those are two, like the equity is apparently it's been highly requested, and HRP to 12.5. And because we need seats for OOC for oversight and HRP.
I see. So which one will we be doing right away then? Would it be oversight or would it be equity?
HRP for 12.3, oversight 12.4, equity 12.5.
Sounds like HRP then. All right.
Internal seconds.
Okay. Hold on, let me find the HRP one. I found it. Whereas there's one vacancy available in the HRP
we have to
committee.
vote on it. We still have to vote on the amendment.
Oh,
This is suspension of the rules.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm seeking unanimous consent. All right, I'm getting no dissent. This passes unanimously. Now the schedule is adjusted, and now we are on HRP committee. I move. Anyone seconds?
Health science.
I hear health science second. So whereas there's one vacant seat available in the HRP committee, be it resolved to elect Councillor D to serve on the HRP for the rest of the council term. I'm making a first call for nominations.
Ashley has a list.
Sorry, give me a second. My earbuds have ran out of power. First call for nominations. Oh, so anyhow, we did not skip equity. Equity is next. We are taking care of HRP committee. We simply rearranged the elections.
Yeah, Liam, I had a list.
Please go for it.
Yeah, so first I just wanted to answer Andrew's question. We will lose quorum if you leave. Please no one leave. We will be wrapped up within half an hour, I swear, guys, which is how long you are supposed to be here as counselors from 4:30 to 8:30. Secondly, I would like to nominate MBB Counselor Sam to sit on HRP to give a brief explanation why. The last, I believe, 3 or 4 seated non-execs on HRP have been the vice chair. This is kind of a tradition at this point. I'm going to nom Sam.
Sam, do you accept?
Yep.
Sam accepts MBB. I got that down. I'm making a second call for nominations. Blank, third call for nominations. Yet another blank. Be it resolved to strike the letter D in this motion, replace it with the MBB counselor to serve on the HRP for the rest of the council term. I move. Anyone like to second?
Events.
Events seconds, seeking unanimous consent. There is no dissent. So be it resolved to officially elect MBB counselor Sam to serve on the HRP for the rest of the council term. Seeking unanimous consent. And there's no dissent. This passes unanimously. And now we are going to be on equity.
No,
So
we're going to OCE oversight.
My bad. My bad. Oversight time. I move. Anyone care to second?
Events.
Event seconds. So whereas there are 3 available seats on the Vancouver campus. Wait a second. I'm looking at a typo in here. This says Vancouver Campus Committee. Assume it says the Oversight Committee, be it resolved to elect councilors X, Y, and Z to serve on the OCEO for the rest of the council term. I'm going for a first call of nominations. Ashley, your list.
It's actually Sam's list.
Yes. So there are 3 open seats on the Executive Oversight Committee. Just because right now it looks like it's the Vancouver Campus Committee.
So just clarifying that. I'm also going to expand upon this list a bit. I would like to nominate the criminology counselor Henry to sit on this committee.
Henry, would you like to?
Yes, accept.
Nice. All right, CSA Counselor Henry is 1. I go for a second call for nominations. Blank. I go for, oh, SASA Counselor, you got a list.
What does this committee do and how often do they meet?
Ashley will most likely answer that, but whoa, never mind. We got a few more lists. Ashley, your direct response to that first.
Yeah, I can absolutely answer that question. So the number, I was actually chair of this committee last year, so I can speak fairly directly to what it does. Essentially, it oversees the work reports of the executive officers. They write bi-weekly work reports, and it is the job of OCEO to read over them, ensure they're making their hours, and then approve those reports, as well as make recommendations to council if any disciplinary action is required, although that rarely happens. In general, this committee should meet for 1 hour bi-weekly. However, the exact time hasn't been decided yet, as it unfortunately has not been called this semester.
Thank you.
That is my bad. I'm going to call for this committee meeting soon. Priyanka, you got a list?
I'm gonna nominate health sciences.
Okay, health science. Would you like to be nominated?
I appreciate it, but I'm already a part of another committee, so I don't think I'll be able to commit to it.
Are you absolutely sure?
Yep.
What if we pressured you?
Please don't.
Abby, you're next on the list.
Yeah, we're gonna spin the wheel. Oh, just kidding. It landed on Sasa. No, that, just kidding. Just kidding. That might.
Are you nominating me or not?
Yes. Yes. Sorry. I just got a little confused. My bad.
No, I will not be able to take this as I'm on co-op and already on one committee.
Oh boy. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Third, last call for nominations. Yikes. Be it resolved to strike X. Hold on, Io, you got a list.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate heavily. This committee's, as it's called, oversight for executive committee. We need counselors on this to ensure that there is no overstepping from the executive committee for any issues, and that the executive committee adheres to the community guidelines. So it is imperative that we do get counselors on this committee.
That is a very good point to make. This is the committee where you guys are going to be watching over us to make sure we fall in line. Some people call that responsibility. You could also call it power. Oh, Jovan, you got a list?
Yeah, really quickly. So I am a part of a committee that I basically cannot attend a single meeting this semester anyway. So could I like remove myself out of that committee and just join this one or no?
For the seat for the actually, I'm gonna let you directly respond to it.
Yeah, so you are more than allowed to nominate yourself for more than one committee. As such, irrespective of your other committee, you can nominate yourself for this one if you would like. However, if you would like to leave your other committee, I believe there is a job form somewhere, where you can formally resign from a committee. But that is done separately and outside of council.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So the basic rundown, you can leave your other committee and switch to another one. That's just what's being said here.
Even more basic rundown. Getting out is harder than getting in. Oh, thank you, Sindhu, for the job form. I think the third call for nominations is blank. Is that right? I'm gonna make a third call one more time. Okay, now it's blank for sure. I would say I move to strike X, Y, and Z on this motion, replace it with the CSA counselor to serve on the OCEO for the rest of the council term. Seeking. Anyone care to second?
Archaeology.
I hear archaeology seconds, so I'm seeking unanimous consent. And I'm getting no dissent, so be it officially resolved to elect the CSA counselor, Henry, to serve on the OCEO for the rest of the council term. Once again, I'm seeking unanimous consent. Once again, receiving no dissent. This passes. However, there are still 2 empty seats. Do not be surprised if this election comes back later on. Now, are we on the equity committee? Ashley says yes. That is very good. I move. Anyone like to second?
Archaeology.
I hear archaeology second. So where there are 2 vacant seats available on the equity and sustainability committee, be it resolved to elect councilors K and J to serve on the ESA for the council term for the rest of the council term. I make a first call for nominations for the equity committee. Ashley, you got a list?
Yeah, I do actually. This might have technically been a administrative error on our part. There might only be one seat on this committee, as one of the seats was filled during the consent agenda when we re-added myself to it. Me and Sam are double checking now. Just checking now to see if there actually is 2 seats or just 1 seat, but feel free to go forward with calls for nominations, although I suspect this to be a very busy committee. As such, I want to confirm if there is actually 2 seats. It looks like there's actually only 1 seat.
Only
because we
one.
just filled it during consent agenda. So there's actually only one seat for equity. As such, I'm going to move to amend to make it only one seat.
Okay, I would like to second. I'm seeking unanimous consent. I'm getting no dissent. It's been officially amended. I'm going for first call of nominations for the one seat on the equity committee. First call. Well, I'm getting point blank. I'd like to make a second call for nominations. Oh, Cindy, how you got a list?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate myself.
Excellent. I have you written down. Third call for nominations. I'm getting nothing. I would like to move to strike the counselors, let's just say it's Counselor K on this motion, replace it with the archaeology counselor to serve on the equity committee. Anyone like to second?
Health science.
I hear health science seconds. I'm seeking unanimous consent. I am getting no dissent. Be it resolved to officially elect the archaeology counselor to serve on the ESA for the rest of the council term. Seeking unanimous consent. I'm getting no dissent. This passes unanimously. Thank you kindly, everybody. IO, your list.
Yes, I move to postpone the remaining agenda items till the next meeting so we do not lose quorum.
You don't want to keep going until we die of no quorum?
We are teetering on the edge. I'm talking like Sisyphus levels of the rocks about to roll back down.
We could push our luck. You don't want to?
And get squished? No, thank you.
All right, then. Well, this is good. I'm gonna second if you move it. I am seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent and continue the meeting until we lose quorum the old-fashioned way, please do so now. I'm getting no dissent. So if that's the case, then this passes unanimously. We'd be effectively going straight to adjournment. I move. Would anyone like to second?
Events.
I hear event second. Be it resolved to officially adjourn. But before that, Ashley, your point of order.
Sienna, are you officially calling the question of quorum right now?
If you are, then we have to check whether we have quorum. If not, then we assume we have quorum until the question is called.
Archaeology counselor, could you confirm whether or not you are officially calling quorum into question?
Archaeology.
Sorry, I lost connection for a second. What's that?
Yeah, are you officially calling quorum into question? Because if you are, we have to count.
Yeah,
and
I
if you
just
are-
saw. Sorry, I just saw that the participant count went down by 1, which is why I did question. Yes.
Okay. So we have to do a quick kind of quorum, in which case that last motion we just passed might have technically been incorrect. Which I believe was the equity committee motion. Could you confirm that?
No, it was the motion to adjourn.
It was the motion to adjourn?
Motion to suspend.
Oh, motion to suspend. Okay. We're at 22. Yeah, so unfortunately we have lost quorum.
Including second.
But it actually technically has no practical effect because either way we move straight to adjournment. So I don't know why I'm making such a big Robert's Rules deal out of this.
If you had made this earlier, we would have canceled the equity committee motion and nullified that, and then I'd actually be ticked. But luckily, no, this doesn't do much damage.
No, actually, either way, equity committee is still in the clear. We definitely have quorum for that. Just the suspension of the rules that didn't have quorum, to be clear. So that didn't pass. Either way, we move straight to adjournment.
I did not know about that rule. It is good to keep in mind. Where was I? We've already moved and seconded. Be it resolved to adjourn this meeting at 8:15 p.m. I'm seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so now. I'm receiving no dissent. If that's the case, we are officially adjourn. I'm going to stop sharing as well as stopping the recording. And with that being said, thank you, everybody,